That was so lovely. Thank you very much. So I am also going to talk about God. So and the devil. Yeah. So I was thinking because normally, well, as you can see, like I can't really memorize my shit that well. So I was thinking, yeah, shout out to like singer-songwriters who both write and memorize. So whoa, all right, cool. But with that being said, I forgot the stuff that I printed out from my poems, so I memorized 2, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of a story. So here's the first memorized poem, which I just wrote recently, and it's called Dance Moves. All right. The old heads say the world is burning, watching youngins Millie rock in the streets, bodies engulfed by the glow of their blackness, no fucks given, ain't got time in these streets. And it's true, really. The world is burning. At its core, we'd evaporate like an orgasm in the night sky, have our souls flown to heaven by God's benevolent birds. I used to be a youngin'. I used to wild wilder than the wildest. I've watched young men of color spontaneously combust. These days, I evangelize like a dime store preacher, scrutinize the suits of other preachers, envy the humility of those more favored. I am so scared I want to die with my eyes open. I never turn my back on anybody, never trust without power. The devil prays in liminal spaces, uses pebbles instead of boulders, talks plenty slick, like he's the only one who could really know God, who could really love him. And you say it's more complicated. It's always more complicated. I say, Lord, take everything but my dance moves. I submit myself to your will. Your grace, a pashmina in the crisp New York air. I lay myself prostrate and pray for more heat. Okay. And now, thank you very much. Okay. So now I'm gonna read a part of a story, and so because I have this, so I can read out of it. So this story is called "Stay Up," and like shout out to Flock magazine who published it. Okay, and yeah, I'm just gonna go into it. Okay. Section 1. Tito was always the crazy one. Like, thugging out the womb type crazy. Like, nigga, I don't give a fuck. I'll do the time, and I fucked your bitch. Beat a nigga in public type crazy. By the time he had a dirty mustache, he was notorious throughout Slater Village, and we walked the earth like young gods in the sun. We were the new school, and we didn't give a fuck about our elders. And nobody said shit. Everybody was just like, don't fuck with him, that nigga's crazy. Besides me, his mom, and the teachers, nobody even called him Tito. Everybody called him Loco, and the homeboys called him Loke. Dude would just roll up on chicks and whisper some nasty shit to them right in front of their fathers, like cold-blooded nasty shit. And those bitch-ass niggas didn't do shit about it. And the girls fell for that shit hook, line, and sinker too. He was my best friend, and whether the rest of us admit it or not, we all saw him as an inspiration. We used to fuck with a lot of white girls back then, and it wasn't even a big deal like you might think it would be, because it was just like they were a part of the team. They were even down with the sisters. It was just like everybody was fucking with everybody. But Tito had mad bitches. He was on some iceberg Moreno shit. And this is where I'm gonna stop. Because every time, like through workshops, I think even, I'm pretty sure the editors of this magazine have no idea, like when I mention iceberg Moreno, like does that like ring a bell? Okay, so like you might hear some of your favorite rappers like referencing this person called Iceberg Slim. It's because this motherfucker wrote the book on motherfucking pimping, so seriously. So like Jay-Z does it, there are a few people. So I'm just gonna read just a small passage out of this because honestly, this is literature, this guy, he was anthologized in this book by Alan Kaufman called the Outlaw Bible of like fiction or something like that. There are like a few anthologies, and so this is like this is his life story. So for several months, I had been screwing the luscious daughter of a popular band leader. She was 15. Her name was June, and she had a wild yen for me. She had a habit of waiting down the street from the gambling joint until Jimmy left. Then she would come up and get on the army cot with me. She would stay until 7 o'clock at night. She knew I had to clean the joint for action around 9. One day around noon, I asked her, "Do you love me enough to do anything for me?" She said, "Yes." So I said, "Even turn a trick?" She said, "Anything." I put my clothes on and went to the street and saw an old gambler who I knew was a trick and told him what was upstairs. Sure enough, he gave me a $5 bill, the asking price, and I took him upstairs and let him in on her. She turned him in less than 5 minutes. It's a happy ending, though, I promise. I got this at Book Culture, so stop judging me. Okay, so Tito, Iceberg Moreno, shit. Okay, so where were we? He was on some Iceberg Moreno shit. Didn't matter what that nigga did, he just couldn't shake him. And this one white girl, Alice, was like his #1 fan. She used to walk an hour from Bramble Hill to Slater Village houses to fuck him while his mom was out. And sometimes she'd even bring a friend for me. And they never acted funny when they came to the projects. They were cool, just happy to be on the team, like I said. And when they started wearing hoop earrings and waxing their eyebrows and drawing them back on, and when they started saying pero in the middle of their sentences like, "I want to smoke, pero Angel's weed always gives me a headache," not even the sisters hated. They passed, and for whatever reason, people felt like they earned it. It was the beginning of summer. We were 14. Tito and I were smoking weed on the roof, and he told me Alice was pregnant. I asked him what he was going to do, and he laughed, and he said he didn't know, but that he was thinking about robbing Todd the fuck up, who lived upstairs and sold dirt, weed, and pills. I asked him if it would be for abortion money. He said he didn't know. He could have got her to have an abortion if he wanted to. He could have made Alice do anything. I mean, Iceberg Moreno, you know what I'm saying? He wanted to have a kid with her. Eventually, it got around that Alice La Puta was pregnant, and her name was dragged up and down project halls, while Tito, El Pobrecito, became a martyr. Only the homeboys called him Loke now. Everybody else called him Tito. And then I got caught with a white girl. Crazy thing is, it wasn't even like I got caught. Baby girl had come and gone like 2 hours before my mom got home, and it was like she Sherlock Holmes that shit or something. I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and she ran up on me like, "Who did you have up in here?" I was in fucking shock. I swept, vacuumed, opened the windows, like there was no trace of her anywhere. I just couldn't process it, so I hesitated, and she went in on me. "Oh, so you did have someone in here. Who was it?" I was stuttering, like looking around the courtroom for my lawyer, and then she really went in. It was Erin, wasn't it? I had never heard my mom speak this girl's name in my life. I tried to protest, but all I could manage to get out was, "Mom." And she wasn't trying to hear that weak shit. She put up one finger and walked away like, "You ain't gonna end up like Tito. I ain't gonna let you end up like Tito." She went upstairs and slammed her door. Half an hour later, she came down and said, "Pack your bags. You're spending the rest of the summer in Louisiana." Then she dropped the mic right in my face. I grew up thinking that there couldn't have been a bigger fucking dummy in history than my mom. Turned out she was sharp as fuck, and I felt like my soul got stabbed. 'Cause all those years I kept telling myself she let those deadbeat niggas step on her because she was stupid. It turned out she was just as weak as I was, and a whore. And I was happy to go. Okay. All right. Yeah. So now I'm gonna do the other poem that I memorized, which is called "Ghost." I've been called many things by niggers as fearful as I, and my definition of the holy has changed over time. The sharing of pain between lovers, the way we fed each other like birds through the winter, the scent of lavender just over the horizon on a late summer night, after the rain has ended, and up the block, Lauryn Hill blast out of the back of somebody's car. And they pray that I violate. They pray to you, Lord. I've been murdered by the eyes of thousands. Why do niggas in New York wear black? Maybe because we want to hide, to lose our bodies and keep them, to close our eyes and forget it all. Lord, I know ecstasy. I crave it. On rooftops, on the corner of 125th and St. Nick. I hear your footsteps on the hardwood floor every night. My lungs compress until I feel you at the door. And I burned all my confessions, but I should have sang the things I never sang. My definition of the holy changes with each loss. I once prayed to lose my body in a glorious way, under the watchful eye of a ceiling fan. But there are no such things as ghost child, only the forgotten and remembered. Blessed be your nappy head. Blessed be the bitterness at your core. Thank you.